planning board, and then when it gets to the Sarasota County Commission, they don't say anything because it's basically a fait accompli. And so the process is already done by the time it gets to the County Commission board. And so that's why, as a county commissioner, I will sit there and stop it before it gets to the board, or have that discussion vehemently that we need to deal with this in a more holistic way. And that's what has to happen. But the community have to support me. The community going to have to give me information. The community is going to have to bring those ideas to me. I can't sit there on an island and dictate to the county commission because I'm only one vote. But I believe that there's an opportunity that the Sarasota County Commission is not so solid as they were now when I get there. First off, I'm going to split them in two. And then I believe that the county commissioners from the South that has been disrespected so long as their districts, not the ones that's coming in, but they have to be responsive to their constituency. And I'm going to show them that they need to be responsive to their constituency by pointing out to their constituency that they are being railroaded and steamrolled because there's a certain group of people that's dictating to this whole county, and they don't care anything about you all down there. So I want to participate in that discussion. I believe I can bring the energy and passion to this process that the people will be respected in Sarasota County once again.
Fred, Tom mentioned out east, and the planning out east, and the land out there. And a lot of people in Sarasota and in Florida are newcomers and are not really aware of the agricultural importance and heritage for both the state and Sarasota and Manatee counties. But agriculture is still one of the biggest economic components of Sarasota County. And yet, the economic development people only talk about businesses and growing parks and whatever. And agriculture seems to be seen as simply holding the land until they can get development approvals. And it's okay for us to just say somebody else has to grow our food. What's your thoughts on Sarasota and agriculture, and perhaps restoring agriculture's place, at least in people's minds, to understand its importance to this community?
And you are so right. A lot of people that have come to Sarasota in the last 25, 30 years has no sense of reference to our agrarian background. But it is very important. Just this Sunday, I was at the Roberts Sports Arena and the fairgrounds at the Pioneer Day. And you have to understand, Pioneer Day is about persons that have lived in Sarasota County at least 50 years. Now, we were honored as persons that fit that criteria. My wife, my mother, who's 98 years old, and myself. And you know, you have to sit down with those persons, you know, the All Days and their families, the Martins and their families, and go out east to the Crowley nursery and take a look at the history of Sarasota County that is still so beautiful out there. And they are really upset. You know, they was talking to me about when Fruitville Road used to stop at Lockwood Ridge. Now, just imagine how long ago that was. That was over 40 years ago.
So did University Park.
We remember when 75, you know, 75 didn't even come to Sarasota County because we didn't want to open up our community. And that's been our problem in Sarasota County, because we've been so adamant about not developing our infrastructure to accommodate our present that we've gotten so far behind that there are so many things that we need to do. But out east is dead. I remember going out east and picking strawberries and cutting cabbages and seeing gladiola fields and orange groves and sod fields. And so I know what the history of Sarasota County looked like, and we know that we need to preserve it, not only for ourselves, but our future, because that's the reason why we are here, and we're going to have to continue to stand up to the developers and make a difference in this community, because if we don't, they will go ahead on and make $1.
And this is where I say establish my pioneer credentials. Mayaca State Park was my great-grandfather's ranch, and he sold it to Ms. Palmer.
Yes. Wow, I didn't know that.
My question has to do with the Planning Commission. You know, it was probably a good idea one time, and now it's filled with people who are just yes people appointed by the County Commission. And you know, it takes staff time. It takes time for staff to make a presentation. It takes, the citizens have to come out to talk to them as well as the County Commission, and the County Commission has to review everything anyway. So why do we need a Planning Commission? Can't we just get rid of it? It's just an advisory board. It costs us money. It costs tax dollars to have them there because staff has to prepare for them. We have a attorney for them. We have to deal with the citizens having to come out to see them for the, you know, whatever the petition is. If we got rid of that one step, it would save us money, it would save us time. Do we really need a planning commission?
Yes, I believe we do. Based on my history and experience at the City Commission, the Planning Board has always been a place to vet issues, and a lot of things get stopped there so it don't waste the time at the City Commission table. Plus, it's the place where citizens participate. We need participation early on in this process because that's one of the problems that's happening right now in the city of Sarasota. They took the planning out of it, and we get the group called STOP that's trying to help us reevaluate some of these situations that have happened without any citizen participation. So I think it's vitally important that we have citizen participation at several levels of the process. So I cannot agree with not having a planning board.
And Lourdes, where would people get trained for county commission work?
I mean, you know, couldn't get on there.
It's the stepping. Well, that's because you weren't part of the, you know, the right bunch. You know that.
We understand why you can't get on there.
You were too pretty.
Yeah, that's it, T.
Okay, on the line.
All right, you're very quiet back there, Laura Sperling. Do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I've got a
Well,
question right here.
I'd like to back up to the traffic situation and what can we do to increase our rapid transit or our mass transit, and particularly then looking at transit out to the islands, that with our visitors every year, it's just become a total logjam.
You know,
So that to me is a county problem.
yes, ma'am. You know, so amazingly, about 7, 8 years ago, we went through a traffic planning process that had put in rapid transit, pull-offs on the 41, looking at a plan to use some of the train track right away to go from the airport all the way to Northport. And we had put all these kinds of ideas into place. And the director of the transportation for Sarasota County was pressing it. We had a county commission about 4 years ago that decided that they didn't want to pay any attention to that planning process that the whole county had gone through. They fired the director so that no one would be there that understood the history of it. And you know, we've changed county commissioners a couple times in the last 4 years. So here we are with no systemic historical perspective of transportation, rapid transit, ferries. We had a master plan that's sitting on the shelf in Sarasota County that need to be re-looked at. But the citizenry has to do that. Because those folks down there, they just visiting. They passing through Sarasota County as bureaucrats. You know, and so the county commission is just as transit as the bureaucrats that's there at the top of the administration. So that's why it becomes the citizens of this community and someone with a historical understanding and perspective of Sarasota County to participate in this process. And that's what has happened here. We don't have anybody sitting there that know what's going on or what has happened here.
Speaking of people getting together for a plan, talk a little bit about cities and county coordination, cooperation, because that's, I think, one of the big gripes that all of us have is that the city does its thing, City of Sarasota, Northport, the county just sort of rides above them all or ignores them all. How do you think, what are your thoughts about improving that so that they actually work together? And I'm not talking about becoming a metro government, but how can we get the 3 cities and the county working better together?
Well, really, the 4 municipalities in Sarasota County individually doing pretty good. But collectively, with the county's cooperation, we could do a lot better. Anytime that there is a disagreement with the municipalities and the county, it costs us money twice. Because the county is using our money to spat against our municipalities, whichever one that might be. The struggle is that there has to be somebody, an understanding up front that this costs money, and so whatever we need to do, we need to agree as soon as possible so we can move on to resolution of the situation. I believe that with my experience, I came to the City Commission in 1985, and you got to remember 1985. You have to have been here to understand what was going on in 1985. But we were able to resolve a tremendous amount of serious concerns through an agreement. There was threatened lawsuits and those types of things, but the City Commission sat there saying, we are willing to get these things resolved because we know it negatively impacts our finance. So some of the compromises that we went through was combination of our stormwater drainage was consolidated, fire was consolidated, parks and recreation was consolidated, and some of our office supply purchasing was consolidated so that we can save money for our municipality. Some of those very things are happening now. Here it is 20, 25 years later down in Venice and Northport. But that's what we need. We need an understanding up first that these things need to be done and they are in the best interest of the citizens. And then when we put them first, then the discussion could move on to resolution. But as long as we're thinking we are battling against the city manager and the county administrator and the town manager and the city managers, we aren't getting anything done but costing all of us money.
What are your ideas to improve social and economic justice?
What are my ideas to improve social and economic justice? I think in Sarasota County, the greatest schism in Sarasota County is schism you have any money. The problem with Sarasota County is we have such a vast group of financial valleys between these communities that we got to find a way at the schools and at the lower levels of introduction to this community to develop relationships that will make a difference. I was reading something in Tempo magazine just this last week where he was talking about we need to start addressing some of these islands of concern. Not only islands at schools, but islands in the communities. We need to start creating opportunities for persons to get together not only at churches, sporting events, but all types of affairs so that we realize that the way that you grow to understand a person is by interacting with them. Until you meet a person, you don't know them. And if we allow the media and the greater community to determine who we develop relationships with, we would never get together because, this system is based on separation and ignorance. And so we need to decide and understand that, and that we don't want to be separated and we don't want to be ignorant.
Thank you very much.
I have maybe just one more question, but before the meeting we discussed briefly the Marion Anderson property, and one of our board members, Kevin Connolly, has been the president of the Sarasota Area Manufacturers Association, and he owns the Apollo Sun Guard, makes the fabric things. And he's very, very adamant about and concerned about the fact that the Sarasota County has rezoned or done away with a lot of MEC, Major Employment Center land, because Kevin is always advocating for business, industry. And I know you have the Marion Anderson property there, which may become a great site for something, but elsewhere in the county, if you were a county commissioner, what would your approach be to some of that? Because so much land is given to residential and the county is simply not reserving lands for MEC.
Well, Marion Anderson is a great site right now. But as it relates to the rest of the county, Sarasota County, we keep having to refer back to the process. We plan for industry. We plan for commercial. But what has happened in Sarasota County in the last 10, 15 years, they have rezoned and allowed developers to come around and cherry pick lands that was designated for industry and commercial use. And so now here we are, got a deficit of lands that can accommodate large industrial use. And we need to be conscious of that and don't allow any more of that to happen, and be aware that there's some possibilities that industry come in and identify a place, probably near 75, that would work for them. We need to be ready to make some decisions on, are we ready to create livable wage jobs in Sarasota County so that we can retain our young families and recruit more to come to Sarasota County.
Well, thank you very much, Fred. I'm glad we had the time to be able to ask you questions that you could expound on and take advantage of the time that was afforded us. I want to remind people that the next CONA meeting is on Monday, November 14, and we'll be discussing adapting your home for aging in place. Greg Hall, the architect, will be bringing in some contractors to discuss that. Thank you very much.